It has been a great pleasure to welcome my friend, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo Addo and his delegation to Jamaica. We are delighted that he has made a visit to Jamaica a priority on his tour of the Caribbean to promote the Year of Return Ghana 2019. Indeed, this is not his first high-level engagement with Jamaica, having accompanied former President Akufo on an official visit to Jamaica 14 years ago in the capacity as foreign minister then. I can therefore say, welcome back to Jamaica. This visit and today's meeting reflect the continued strong bilateral relationship that exists between Jamaica and the Republic of Ghana. Our relations are deeply rooted in our ancestral and historic connections, forged over many years and only made stronger by our firm democratic traditions, shared principles, and vision for peace and prosperity, and the cultural affinities which unite our peoples. We cannot forget that many Jamaicans trace their ancestry to the Akan region of West Africa, presently known as Ghana. With the roots of many Jamaicans stemming from Ghana, the President's visit is highly symbolic. It is that very symbolism in Ghana's Black Star which inspired Marcus Garvey to call for the Africans to rise up, for us to unite, to throw off the shackles of mental slavery and accomplish what we will. As we endeavor to further deepen the relationship between our peoples and nations, the President and I have mandated our Ministers of Foreign Affairs to negotiate and conclude, and I am happy to say that this has happened very speedily because I will allow the President to give that good news, but the mandate has been effected.
Our visit here is really, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that Ghanaian leader will come to Jamaica because, as the Prime Minister has quite rightly put it, the ties that bind us are ones that go back a long way, they are deep, they have cultural and other ramifications. So there's every reason that I should come here. We have these historical and cultural ties. We also have the potential of building on those ties important economic relations, trade and commercial relations. And in order for our two countries to get maximum value and benefit from the ties that are between us, it is important that we take advantage of those ties to build these strong economic relations. There are lots of areas of possible engagement that we have talked about this afternoon, and the decision has been made on both our parts that the Ghana-Jamaica Joint Commission for Cooperation that has been dormant for some time is going to be reactivated, hopefully this year, if not as early as possible in the first quarter of next year, so that the various areas of engagement that we're talking about can be properly structured within a legal framework for the doing of business between our two countries. All of us know the impact that the famous Marcus Garvey, your national hero, has had on the independence movements in Ghana. The Black Star Line shipping company that he formed for the repatriation of Africans back to Africa, Africans in the Americas back to Africa, became the national shipping line of Ghana under Kwame Nkrumah's guidance. So the intercourse between our two countries has been systematic and of long standing. Now has come the time for us to give teeth to those relations by making sure that the various areas of engagement in education, in tourism, in cultural activity are specifically tied down. That is really my purpose of coming here. We're going to have relations that are intimate. We cannot have visas standing in the way of those relations. So the decision has been taken by my government that Jamaicans, as Ghanaians, benefit from visa-free arrangements here in Jamaica. We are also going to provide visa-free arrangements for Jamaicans in Ghana and facilitate and make it easier for you to accept our invitation to come and join us for the year of return. So I want to end by thanking Prime Minister Holness again for the warmth of his welcome and for the invitation that he gave to me to come and visit him here in Jamaica. It's been an extremely worthwhile visit for me and my delegation, and I'm hoping that in the not too distant future, you'll see me here again. I like this country, and I enjoy its young, handsome Prime Minister. Yeah, so thank you very much indeed.
His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo Addo is the President of the Republic of Ghana. This is a special sitting of the People's House. And it is really important because today Africa meets its diaspora. The diaspora meets Africa in the form of His Excellency Akufo Addo.
Honorable members, I reiterate the welcome of our highly esteemed guest, my dear friend, His Excellency Nanu Addo Dankwa Akufo Addo, the President of the Republic of Ghana. I have been advised that this is an historic first in that an African state is addressing our Parliament. Certainly, it is a first for a President of Ghana. We are most grateful to His Excellency.
Your Excellency, President Akufo Addo, I am delighted to have the privilege with the rest of our Parliament and the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines of welcoming you to our beautiful country. Welcome to you and your entire delegation. I trust that your visit will be fruitful and enjoyable.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity and privilege to address this special sitting of the House of Assembly of St. Vincent and Grenadines in this renowned courthouse building. I'm doubly privileged as I understand that I'm the first African leader to have been accorded this honor. I'm grateful for it. I have to begin by congratulating you, Mr. Speaker, the Governor General, the Honorable Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition, and the entire nation of St. Vincent and Grenadines on the great news of your recent election as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. You are the smallest country ever to occupy such a seat in the global body. The Ghanaian people join me in extending hearty congratulations on this remarkable feat, which testifies to the esteem in which you are held in the international community. Mr. Speaker, this visit affords me the chance to reciprocate the visit paid to us in Accra by the Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, in November last year. I assured him I would visit him in Kingston, and to declare, Prime Minister, I have kept my word. This is my second visit to these beautiful islands. The first was when I was Attorney General in the government of that outstanding Ghanaian statesman, the second President of Ghana's Fourth Republic, His Excellency John Akufo, a good friend of the Prime Minister, and attended in 2002 the Commonwealth Law Officers meeting here. The transformation of this country I've witnessed in my short stay since then is solid evidence of the excellent work of your celebrated Prime Minister, the longest-serving political leader in the Caribbean, and I believe in South America. I congratulate him. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the very warm welcome from both the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition, and making me feel at home, even though I am far from home. It is 3 o'clock here in Kingston. It is 7 p.m. in Accra, the end of the working day. It is a long way away from Ghana, a long way away from the west coast of Africa, even in a jet plane, and even on a planned happy journey with a return ticket. It does not matter how often I make this journey, and however different the circumstances that take me, my mind invariably goes to those journeys of more than 400 years ago that brought some of our forebears to the Americas and the Caribbean. Forced, unplanned, destination unknown, and packed like sardines in unimaginably filthy conditions, they emerged into a life of bondage and indignity that was to last for centuries. This year, we are marking the 400th anniversary of the first recorded arrival in America of people who were forcefully abducted from West Africa. Thus began the start of this transatlantic slave trade, in which some 20 to 25 million Africans were brought in chains to the Americas and the Caribbean. We're remembering the anniversary to underline our determination that never again will Africa allow herself and her people to be subjected to such an obscene, degrading, and dehumanizing catastrophe. Never again shall it be that a dozen or so armed foreigners, with the connivance of a few of our own people, would reduce Africans to traded commodities. We're commemorating the anniversary with what we have termed the Year of Return. I launched the Year of Return at a ceremony in Washington, D.C. in the United States of America last year to signify that Ghana is extending, in this commemorative year, a special welcome to all Africans in the diaspora, to all descendants of the Africans who were forcibly transported to the Americas. Right from the day when Ghana got her freedom and independence from British colonial rule on the 6th of March, 1957, the first sub-Saharan state to do so, we have always seen ourselves as owing a special responsibility to Africans in the diaspora. At that historic moment, our celebrated first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, pledged himself and the fortunes of independent Ghana to the total liberation of the African continent and to the cause of Pan-Africanism. This position has deeply influenced and guided Ghanaian public policy. I would like to pay a special homage to Africans in the diaspora, both as individuals and as states. The African Union recognizes the importance of the diaspora, and that is why the African diaspora is designated as the sixth region of the African Union. They might have started as slaves, but the contribution of Africans to the development of the Americas and the Caribbean is matchless. I do not refer just to the slave labor that built American railways and American industries, and generally American infrastructure, as well as those of the Caribbean. I refer also to the roles of Africans in innovation, in science, in sports, in music, in the arts, and in the fashioning of the Americas and the Caribbean. I looked up and took a few of the inventions that Africans in the Americas have to their names and which have improved life for all humanity. I cite these in no particular order of importance: caller ID, call waiting, the fiber optic cable, pacemaker, mop, suspenders, ice cream scooper, lawnmower, ironing board, blood bank, folding chair, automatic gear shift in vehicles, sanitary belt, walker, tissue holder, gas marks, traffic signals, world's fastest computer, voice over IP, closed circuit television. Try and think what life would be without my random list. In the sporting world, Africans in the diaspora have shown that they're not afraid of hard work and discipline. Football, athletics, basketball, and many other games have been taken to new heights thanks to the efforts of the descendants of those who were forcibly transported to the Americas. I acknowledge Frederick Douglass, one of the greatest of all Americans, when he says that slaves sing best when they are most unhappy. If that is so, then the world has a lot to thank the black people in the diaspora for much of the music that has kept the world going in the past 3 centuries. All the great singers and entertainers of the past 100 years acknowledge Africa as the source of the rhythm and lyrics of their music. Calypso still captivates, and reggae gets new converts every day. Trinidad and Tobago, for example, might be a big and leading player in the oil and gas sector these days, and Ghana is hoping to increase their collaboration in those fields with Trinidad and Tobago. But for some of us, especially of a certain age, you will forgive me if the first thing that comes to mind at the mention of Trinidad and Tobago is Calypso. Let me therefore pay homage to some of the Caribbean greats who have kept us entertained. Speak of Lord Kitchener, Lord Biggener, Sparrow, Calypso, Rose, and others. Bob Marley took reggae single-handed into the heights and breadths of the world. Your own Kevin Little has given us great joy in recent times. The rhythms and lyrics still fascinate and captivate. We're happy that Bob Marley's widow, Rita, has found a home with us in scenic Aburi. We were happy that Maya Angelou spent a considerable part of her youth with us in Ghana. And we're proud that W.E.B. Du Bois found a home in Ghana and is buried in our soil. In the 60 years or so since African countries attained independence, it is true that we have not always lived up to the early promise of our forebears. Political instability and abysmal management of our economies have meant that Africa has been described as the scar on the conscience of the world, to borrow the words of a one-time British Prime Minister. Many of Africa's young people have resorted to desperate means to escape from the continent, to find a better future for themselves elsewhere. There is no more searing evidence of this than the sad and damning words written by Keith Richburg in the book Out of America, A Black Man Confronts Africa. He wrote, cataloging his time as the Africa correspondent of the well-known U.S. newspaper, The Washington Post. He wrote that as he stood by a river in Tanzania and watched the bodies of victims of the Rwandan genocide floating in the river, he told himself he was grateful that his forebears had been sold into slavery. He wrote that he was glad that this ensured he was an American and not an African. To use his words, there but for the grace of God go I. In other words, he was saying there that but for my forebears having been sold into slavery, go I. Those words stick in my gullet. And in Ghanaian culture, I have to say taflache, kafra, meaning excuse me, before uttering such words. Yes, we who bring Africa to such levels should bow our heads in shame. However, nothing, but nothing, should ever bring us to thinking that the slave trade could be justified. Today is not the day to go into the struggles that African countries have encountered since independence. It is enough to state that there's a new determination to make Africa work, and we are doing so. It is probably worth pointing out that the country where the events took place that drove Keith Richburg's spirits to such low depths, that country, Rwanda, is today justifiably cited as one of the rising countries in the entire globe. We in Ghana have also had our trials, and we are the first to admit that we have not made as much progress as we ought to have done by now after 62 years of independence. But we can say that with the stability that has come from 26 years of constitutional rule, our institutions are becoming more reliable, and we are building an economy that will stand the test of time. I'm happy to tell you that Ghana is open for business. There are considerable business opportunities for those who would partner Ghanaians in a fast-growing economy. We are particularly keen to open up our country and spread industries across its length and breadth. This is the rationale for government's one district, one factory policy, which is gaining more and more traction as we seek to add value to the natural resources that are spread throughout our country. It is unpleasant, Mr. Speaker, but it is a fact that Ghana, along with Benin and Senegal, served as the main ports of embarkation of the slaves. And it is a traumatic but cleansing experience to see these castles. The majority of these castles are in Ghana, and they are worth a trip by themselves. But we do not offer only unpleasant memories. Ghana is full of stunning views and scenery that we who live there tend to take for granted, but which visitors find breathtaking. However, the most attractive and the greatest selling point of Ghana is and always has been her people, the Ghanaian people. The welcome that you find in Ghana, with all due respect to honorable members in this House, is unique and like none anywhere else in the world. Our foods are interesting and tend to be once sampled, never forgotten. I suspect I do not need to remind you that we are home of kente, the fabric that has come to define the black race everywhere and will lead in fashion on the continent. Our music is catchy and unforgettable, and the drums and rhythms make us stand out. The Speaker, in today's world, where sadly crime and terror have become part of everyday life, I can say that Ghana is certainly the safest country in the West African region and remains one of the few places on earth where we're not embarrassed to see ourselves as each other's keeper. I invite all Africans in the diaspora to come, explore and experience Ghana in this year of return. We want to use this year of return as a bridge to build stronger ties between Ghana, those of us on the continent, and the African diaspora. To those of you who would want to come and stay, we say you're most welcome. Africa is your home, and Ghana would be happy to serve as the bridge between the diaspora and the African continent. But we're not really asking for another series of traumatic journeys. Many of you have made successful homes in the Caribbean islands, in the Americas. Brazil is your home, Guyana is your home, Cuba is your home, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is your home. We invite you to come and visit Ghana in this year of return. After the launch of the year of return, we continued with the December 2018 Full Circle Festival, involving over 70 African-American celebrities visiting Ghana to reconnect with their ancestral heritage. They were able to view, and indeed Africa, from their own lenses, and were able to eat, feel, see, and wear Ghana. The Homecoming and Investment Summit, the African-American Investment Forum, the Pan-African and Emancipation Day celebrations, the Durbar from Jamestown to Jamestown, the Film Festival, and the Full Circle Festival are some of the activities that will be held to commemorate the year-long event. Mr. Speaker, I've left with the Deputy Clerk for your attention several copies of the provisional program for the year of return, setting out the prospective dates and times for its activities. The commemoration should enable us in the African Union to consolidate our link and strengthen our links with our sixth region, i.e. the African diaspora of the so-called New World, which have laid somewhat dormant, and make operational and extend the free movement protocol to those in the diaspora seeking to resettle in Africa. As we mark the 400th anniversary of the start of the transatlantic slave trade, come and visit, and let us together demonstrate that we have overcome. It says on the door, leading out of the dungeon from the slave castles that dot our coastline, door of no return. Let us show that we can return. We have returned, and we have conquered. We have conquered the humiliation and degradation of 400 years ago. We in Ghana and throughout the continent, in the continent of Africa, are proud that you who were taken away have demonstrated such resilience and testified to the enduring strength of Africa in the diaspora. Together, we shall make Africa a place to be proud of, for we must all be aware by now that ultimately all black people everywhere are judged by the success of Africa. The year of return awaits you all. May the Almighty bless the African peoples and their descendants. And I have to thank the Prime Minister very much for the historic and nostalgic photograph that he presented with me. I'm very grateful for it. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for your attention.